Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the I Just Need Sleep podcast. We've not got anybody joining us this week, so it's me and Neil, but Neil's got something quite specific to talk about, and I'm going to pass it over to him now. Pass the
Hi,
mic to
everybody.
you. Here you go, Neil. It's over there. Yeah, throw it over.
Oh, crap. Thanks, Joseph. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching later on. Not many people want to join us, but I just wanted to say a heartfelt warm welcome to all the new members. The group is growing really quickly, so hopefully we're doing something right to attract all this attention. But thank you for joining us. Great to have all the members on board. Great that the comments are coming through. People are asking questions. So yeah, we're just happy that we feel that we are starting to be in service a bit more, and people are getting something from it. So a heartfelt warm welcome to everybody, and hi, and a warm felt welcome to everybody that's in the group already. And tonight we alluded to it last week, where we said that we would maybe give a little bit more in-depth information on where your reality, where we believe, where we know your reality comes from. And it's part of the three principles. Sydney Banks, lots and lots of other people as well, and previous to Sid, have touched on very similar stuff. But it changed my world. And I know it's changed Joseph's, and it changes many, many hundreds of other people's. It's proving extremely effective in helping people overcome everything from drug addictions to divorce, from being suicidal. And it happens quickly. And Joseph and I are reasonably new to it compared to some people that have been in sort of 40, 50 years. So yeah, it's something that we're still enjoying, and we know we're going to forever, and we're becoming more enlightened as time goes by. And we wanted to try and share a little bit of what trying to put something that is formless and wordless into word that makes some sort of sense. So what we thought was we'd look at where we know reality comes from, and really hope that it stirs some thoughts and reactions. And if people aren't joining us now, if they watch later, yeah, it'd be lovely to hear what people think or what comments they might have. So I'm going to bounce over to Joseph, who's going to kick us off. So yeah, Joseph, floor's yours, mate.
Muting myself there, Neil, because I was clicking away on the presentation slide. So I thought we'd start with, you know, where does our reality come from? And we've been banging on about this before, and it doesn't look like it. And our reality comes from thought. I'm just going to pull up a picture here, if I can get this up here, that will you may have seen before or you may not have seen before. So let's see if I can share my screen a moment. I'm going to share the snipping tool on my screen. I don't know if you can see that now.
It says, yep, it's up.
Okay. So we're sharing this screen. Whether it appears on the actual recording, I don't know yet. So you can see legs there. There's clearly somebody's legs. And to me, when I first looked at it, and Neil as well, they looked like shiny, sort of oiled legs. Right? And you're like, oh, that's a bit weird. Why would somebody take a photo of that? But when you look closer, right, shiny oil legs, that's what it looks like to me and you. That's what it looks like to pretty much everybody. And let us know. Let us know in the comments if it doesn't look like that to you. But if you look closer, you can see it is just white paint on somebody's legs. And once you see it's white paint, we found personally you can't go back to seeing its oiled, shiny legs. Your brain just doesn't want let you. Your mind just doesn't want let you. And this is just a way that thought kind of creates reality and then goes, well, I didn't do it. But little tricks like these, little illusions, they show us that behind the scenes, they show us what's going on that we can't see. It's like back here somewhere, and it's kind of dark and hazy, and that's really where the answers are. The answers are not in having a better house, a better job, having so much money that you can nap during the day whenever you want, or having, you know, kids that stay quiet at night, if that's the issue. The answer is seeing that it's our own thought. And the only real problem, we are creating our problem. And when we see that and really see that for what it is, it stops. The problem stops. The anxiety stops. The stress stops, and it stops like almost like slamming the brakes on the car. There's no wind down. It's just a bang. So Neil, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, I know that when we looked at this the other day, and I saw absolutely oiled up, shiny legs
Yeah.
until you said the paint, and then I couldn't see the oily. I just wanted to say, when you first put the clip up, for a split second, I saw oily, and then straight to paint. So it still tried to give me a false reality,
Hmm.
but it was very, very quick. And when I say a split second, I mean I blink and you'd have missed it. But that's interesting that the brain, even then, when it knew that it was just paint, still tried to make them shiny legs.
Well, it's the mind doing it. It's not. It's probably not the brain, because it's the conditioned mind. You know, we like shortcuts, so we're lazy. We don't look at things properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with everything you said afterwards. And this is one of the things that can seem really simple. And people go, yeah, yeah, I've heard that all the time. And of course, I know it's my thought. But when you realize all the mechanics that are going on, and you start to really understand that it is your thought. It's never what happens in front of you. It's never what pressures are
Mm,
placed upon you. It's how your thought system deals with that and makes that your reality.
yeah.
And the wonderful thing is you then realize instantaneously that every single living human being on this planet has a totally different reality to the other person. And it is mind blowing, and it sounds a little bit out there at times, but we're hopefully going to try and engage with you and give you some idea of trying to put some of this into words for you. And what we can do is show you the mechanics of how things work. And that's why we thought that slide was really useful, because what that is showing you is that your reality initially were the shiny legs.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
until Joseph said to me, paint, and I looked at it for about 8 seconds, I didn't see the paint. But then once Joseph had pointed out the paint, I could not see the shiny legs. So, what is reality, Joseph?
reality is what we think. Now we can't show you, because it's your reality. We can't show you, but we can point in the right direction, and we can keep pointing until you go, oh yeah. And when people go, oh yeah, it's one of those light bulb moments from what we've seen. So the things that will make the biggest impact in your lives are not the things that you will be taught and educated about, because that education, modern education, is not actually education as such, because the classical education uh, means educate comes from the word adduce, I believe, in Latin, which means to draw out or bring out from within you. And modern education is just conditioning. You will learn this to pass this exam. You will learn this to so you can do these jobs. And nobody likes it really, but we all like realizing stuff for ourselves and going, oh yeah, and having that light bulb moment, because we're making our own discoveries. And it's not only solving problems, but it's fun to kind of make discoveries about ourselves, and in the process make discoveries about the world as well, and others. I'm going to bring up another slide now, Neil, if that's all right. And this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just one, um, again, that we've I've spoken about, me and you've spoken about before. So I'm just going to share this. So this how it looks like it works. Now everybody's looking for the drug or the thing or the magic alarm clock or the sleep technique that will fix their life. But as I said before, the thing that's going to make the biggest difference in your life are the things you realize for yourself, and the sort of eureka moments, and the learnings you have for yourself, and when it all sort of comes together, and you have that thing that just clicks in your head. That's what's going to make the difference. So it looks like it works. U plus X, Y, or Z equals better sleep. And we think, yeah, if I have this in my life, if I have the Ferrari, or if we're looking at it from a point of materialistic kind of desires, if we have the Ferrari in our life, my life's going to be way better. Or if I have this bigger house, or if I have a better job, or more, and it goes on and on and on. It's not just sleep; it's pretty much everything in life. And it doesn't work that way. Ooh, how do I go to the next slide? It doesn't let me on here for some reason. Do I click? Ah, there we go. How it actually works. Can you see that now?
Yes, yeah, it's come up.
So it's U minus misunderstandings equals better sleeps. And we all have a ton of misunderstandings. Like, how do I stop the share? Stop share. We've got a ton of them. I've still got loads. I won't lie, but I don't know what they are. And until I have those insights and realizations, and Neale as well, about those misunderstandings, they'll still cause us to trip over our own feet. It's like having your shoelaces tied together and walking around. And then one day untying your shoelaces, it's like, wow, I can walk so much better. Why didn't I do this before? And it just never occurred to us before. We've all done something like really dumb, even going to adult life that people have known for ages. And people have gone, well, you didn't know that. And it's like, no, it just never occurred to us before to change that or do that. And these are the things that will make the difference in our life.
Excuse me. Sorry, I always get engrossed when you're talking, and I'm smiling because I'm really glad that we're doing this and trying to impart some of the understanding that we have. And it isn't easy, people. That we try to allow people to draw it out for themselves. We're not teachers. That's not what we're about. We don't tell you what to think or how to think. We're saying that reality isn't the reality that most people believe it to be. There is a growing number of people around the world, running into many thousands now, that are becoming aware of this understanding. And it doesn't just change your life, it changes the life of the people around you. And it's nothing that you can put into words, and it's a total misunderstanding, and it's completely innocent by everybody. And you may hear something when we're talking, you may not.
Yeah.
People get things at different times. Joe knew about this many years before.
Well, I was told about this in 2008, and I was like, I just don't get it. I'm just not feeling it. And yeah, it took me another 10 years of suffering before I came back to it. And I didn't even bother asking the guy. I didn't even go, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you make me listen? Which is a lot of people say. Because he did. He played videos around his house and have this guy, Sid Banks, talking. And Sid says something that's really useful, and it's looking in the right direction, because you can't get and this is something I've been looking at more recently with myself. You can't get a good feeling, or you can't get what you want by going into a negative feeling. So if we're up late, anxious or stressed, even if we're not feeling it, but we know at some level we're anxious and stressed. Like, for instance, I was the other week, I was a bit anxious, and I wasn't sleeping as great for a few days about something. And it wasn't immediately obvious to me that I was anxious and stressed out, but I was, because when that event passed, I slept like a baby again. So what I'm saying is, we can't get a good feeling and a good result for sleep by going into a bad one. So many people think that if they beat themselves up, or do this or do that, or try harder, it's going to help. And I don't know about you, but trying harder to sleep has never worked for me, Neale. It's just stressed me out more. It's almost like giving up works. You have to really sort of really give up, not do anything, and then you fall asleep. There's an energy that keeps you awake there. And I found that focusing on and being grateful for what we do have, even if we're sleeping badly, even if we're anxious and stressed out, focusing on what we're grateful for helps us look in that right direction towards the formless energy of all things, which is, well, the formless energy of all our experience, which is thought in the moment. So when we're looking in this right direction, when we're grateful for what we have. It might not be a lot. It might just be we're alive and we can get some food. But when we're grateful for this, that gratitude brings more. It brings more insights. It brings us looking in the right direction. It will bring us insights about our condition. Just looking in that direction, we won't know when they occur. And as well as that, it helps quieten the mind down, because we're looking in the right direction and not the wrong direction. And looking in the wrong direction has got the mind stirred up. It's like Neale, do you want to give your river metaphor for that one?
Oh yeah, definitely. So if you can imagine that, well, no, let's not imagine. First of all, we still don't know. Science cannot tell us where thoughts come from and why they come. Okay, so we don't know that. So I like to think of that as this dark cave, blacked out, very mysterious, not spooky, just blacked out. You cannot see in. But from this cave comes a river, and the river constantly flows, never stops. And down the river come the thoughts. But if we put the thoughts into like little emojis, you can have them, you got your happy emojis, your sunshine emojis, your birthday surprise emojis. You've got all these emojis coming down, which are your thoughts. But what you start to notice is the really horrible thoughts, the shitty thoughts, are actually little shitty poo emojis that are floating down the river. And innocently, we've been programmed to sort of get into the river, wade in there, grabbing these shit poo emojis, because we can't just allow them to carry on down the river and float away from us and just disappear. We have to get in there, and when we do that, we're picking them apart. We're hitting every one of our sensations. And if we're choosing to stand in that river and just keep grabbing at all the poo emojis, all we'll ever see are poo emojis, and then we're just tidal wave of poo emojis coming at us, and it's all innocent. Yeah, it's just so innocent. And when you start to have that knowing and that total inner understanding of it, you realize there isn't anything in the world that can make you feel anything unless you allow your thoughts to go that way. So, but the other thing is that when you get this, it doesn't mean that you suddenly become this guru who never has negative thoughts anymore, or doesn't have the emotion, or doesn't have anything else. It just makes you more aware of what creates your reality. And if I'm having a bad day at work now, instead of blaming the guys around me or the machine breaking down, and I do that still, I'm human. I was doing it the other week. I held my hands up to it. And then you realize much more quickly that, hold on a second, the only one that's making me feel this bad is me, because of the thoughts I'm having. I can choose to ignore what's going on, but I've chosen to keep going on with the thought, and then that thought then drives all that negative emotion, and it changes our vibration, it changes our whole DNA. Now that's something that science can prove. Your whole body vibrates differently between when it's negative and pissed off and angry, as against when you're in a happy, loving, mood. And it's not that you suddenly turn into these hippies that are loving, yeah, but because you lose the hatred and you understand that that reality was only driven by your own thinking, never by any outside. Nothing from the outside can cause your reality, only on the inside, and the only thing we have on the inside is thought. So we still have those thoughts, but we wake up to them. And I now just laugh at myself and go, Neil, you were doing it again. Stop it. Behave. Think of something nice. Put some nice music on, or just choose to think of something nice, and it'll be like, wow. Like today, pouring rain, think you're going to get soaking wet, and then brilliant blue skies and sunshine.
Sorry, but there.
And then watching three squirrels running and chasing each other through the trees, and it's just, yeah, it was beautiful. And it doesn't mean that you can just alter things, everything straight away, rather, but when you see it for what it is, and that your reality can only be created in your own thoughts, within your own mind, wow, it doesn't just allow you to sleep better, it allows you to be more at one with yourself and everybody else. You have more empathy, you have more care, you have more thought, and
Yeah.
it's reciprocated. This is the thing, Joseph mentioned it, and good vibrations bring good vibrations. I'm getting Beach Boys sounds here.
The
and
difference
this
is night and day. The difference is literally night and day, in my
and
experience.
I had stumbled into this 20 years ago, and without understanding what the 3Ps were, I was living it when I overcame my PTSD. And it was the most, I've always spoken about it as being in memory, in my thoughts, because it's past, it doesn't exist, as being some of the happiest times, because I was so content. And
Did
it
it
was
fade though,
ridiculous
Neil, over
because
time? Is that
I poisoned myself. Yeah, totally.
okay? I was just wondering
Absolutely,
about that.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I beat myself up a lot when I first found the 3Ps, because I had the insight that, oh my God, I was into this 20 odd years ago and didn't know what it was. I'd found it myself through doing lots of other things, relaxation, mindfulness, breathing techniques. But when you lose a lot of those beliefs, and you see the programming that you've had that makes you react in certain ways to certain, and you see that that's not you, that's not your true self. And instead of beating myself up about it, I smile now, because I'm just grateful that's what happened. But I was going to say, the more I was in that mood, the more good stuff came to me. I went from being a masseuse, fairly new, well, very newly qualified, and all the other stuff, and getting a contract at the local hospital. Then within 6 months, moved me out to another couple of hospitals because it was going so well and helping so many people. And then I was made therapist at the trust, and then an occupational health company picked up on me. Then I started getting into stress management training, and I believed that I could affect people's lives more positively, could get to more people if I went down the corporate line. And that's my mistake. I went back down the corporate line, and for me, I hadn't dealt with some of the demons, and hadn't had the realization of
Yeah,
I was.
you can fall back in. Well, you can go different directions when
Yeah,
you misinterpret things any day of the week. And you were saying that, well, from what I've seen, you mentioned controlling thoughts. I've seen that you can't really control your thoughts; they just come and they just go. But when you're looking in the right direction, you're more likely to get the nicer thoughts coming out of that cave, or
yeah.
the ones that you want coming out of that cave, than the ones that you don't
And
want.
when you're that realization, when that knowing kicks in, when you've been enlightened, when you've had that waha, that life-changing pivotal moment, um, it you don't necessarily see so much shitty emojis.
And some people don't have that big realization, you know, the Hollywood insight. Some people have it drop by drop, day by day,
Oh, God, yeah.
you know, from years. So they don't even know that they've changed until like they meet somebody they used to know and they say, oh, wow, you're completely different now. You know, you've really chilled out or matured or, you know, something else they notice.
Yeah.
And then like, oh,
I think
actually,
because
then they have a realization that they have.
I think it's because you have that knowing and your reality changes. There aren't so many shit emojis because you're not thinking in a polluted way
Yeah, you're not
anymore.
chasing. You're not
Yeah,
trying to get more of what doesn't
yeah.
work. Because you can never get enough of what doesn't work. But then we keep trying to get, and we think if we have enough of what doesn't work. And the example is like really, really, really wealthy people chasing more money. I've got 10 helicopters and, you know, 20 houses, and I own these private islands. You know, I still need more money because I obviously haven't got enough because I'm not happy. You know, that's one of them. But it's from what I've seen is that it's not that you don't have negative emotions because, you know, late at night, if you're tired and anxious like anybody else, especially if something's gone on during the day, you can start really get into it and really get into it that I need to, you know, get my 8 hours or so, even I even take 7 or 6 some nights, you know, if it's that bad. Sorry, I'm coughing. But yeah, when you're really getting into it, it just makes it lets you laugh at yourself because you don't take your thoughts as seriously, even though you're still having probably the same negative thoughts as you've always had. And that being able to laugh at you and not take them so seriously, there's something comforting there. You don't engage with the movie of your life so heavily. So the highs, they can be just as high, but the lows,
Oh,
because you're engaging fully with those, you are taking those seriously, because why not? But the lows, they're just not so low. You know it's going to be okay.
yeah, and that innate health that,
Mm,
that is within all of us, once this misunderstanding, this innocent misunderstanding, you've overcome, and you wake up to it. It's one of the most powerful. It is the most powerful thing I've ever experienced on an emotional level.
mm.
And I know that for everybody else that's had big insights, and it doesn't lessen it if you have lots of small ones, because once you have the knowing, you have the knowing, and the knowing and the principles are, it's like gravity. It's there. You might not be able to see it or prove it, but you can because you just drop your pen. But we don't think about gravity. We react to it because we know it's there. So when we become to have that knowing, it's not like we're having to do a lot of stuff. We were just more aware of where
Just a
that reality is and
realization.
what we're doing for ourselves.
Yeah,
It's a realization.
like
There's
if I
no
was to drop
intellect.
this screwdriver, if
It
I was
drops.
2 years old, I'd drop and go, oh, why is that falling down? But right now, I understand gravity, innate. You know, we don't have to think about that because otherwise we'd be falling flat on our faces. But at 2 years old, that's kind of like a new thing. It's like, oh, it falls down, it smashes, it breaks. It's like, oh, I didn't have. You might, if you thought about it too, this goes down if I drop it. Yeah, you might get that, but you haven't got it like you drive a car. And another thing you mentioned, Neil, you mentioned science and um, can't prove, and it's not this. This understanding is not. This understanding is about direct experience proof. Science proves cause and effect. It doesn't tell you what something is. That's philosophy. That's something completely different. Science is just purely cause and effect. So when people say, "Oh, reality," I'm about science reality. No, the reality that you are observing is a philosophical viewpoint. It's got nothing to do with science. So materialism is a philosophical perspective, and there are many others. But even materialism supports this.
Yeah.
You ask a neurologist, and they say, "Yeah, you live in a sea of thought in your head. You can't experience reality. You experience your own thinking, your own thought, like a waking hallucination within your mind." And that's what we experience, and that's all we experience. We cannot directly experience reality.
And it you just become. a more well-rounded human being. You lose a lot of that negativity, and with that negativity, you lose the anger. With the anger, you lose the resentment or the revenge. Um,
Yeah.
you don't have to forgive because you can just forget about it. And if you do have to forgive, you understand that other person, if they don't have this knowing, if they've reacted, made you, are they having a bad day? We don't feel sorry for them, but we understand it comes from their overthinking. And if I react to it, I'm just allowing my thinking to cause my reality. When I can choose to react a completely different way and just say, hey, do you know what? They're obviously dealing with a bit of something at the moment. It's nothing to do with me. Fine.
Yeah.
And you let go, but you don't let it fester. You don't hold grudges, and you've got so much more time for you to be nice and just enjoy things. And because it can happen at any time, because it can, some people just go ping and it hits them right between the eyes. Other people slow drift. People get anxious at the start, that they're looking for something, they're trying to find, and they're looking for something they can only find within inside them. It's that quiet zone inside you. It's that area where you tap into universal wisdom.
It's literally the space in between your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You're the space in between them. It almost seems like it almost looks to us like an empty space, but it's not empty.
But at the same time, it's not full. But the answers to everything you could ever want lie within that region. And if you have a quiet mind, if you're not thinking at 200 miles an hour, if you can give yourself that space. And I know people are going, well, if I could, I would do, wouldn't I? That's why I'm here. I want you to tell me how to do that. Yeah, we can talk techniques. I've got so many different techniques. And, if you are in a really, really bad place, it may be that you're thinking at such a speed, this just sounds like drivel to you at the moment. If you've just come in from a busy day and put this on, you might make all sorts of judgments about what we're saying. But if you're listening to this at a point where you're fairly relaxed, or even maybe listening to it as you fall asleep, it'll affect you in a different way. Oh, sorry, sorry, Joseph. I was
Sorry.
aware that you were doing that. That's okay, mate. So yeah, it's something that we stumbled upon. It's something that we've experienced. It's something that we now know it isn't of intellect. And this is the hardest thing, because intellect is one of those big things, isn't it? Everybody's like, oh, look at the brain box, or look at the intelligent one, or and we think that we're so clever, and we are in lots of ways, but we can't make a human being from scratch. We can try and copy something.
That's a really good
You
one,
know,
Neil. Trying to figure it out, it never works. It just
no.
hits. It just hits you. It's like when you're in the shower and you've been trying to figure something out for ages, and then you let go of something, and
Uh-huh.
your intellect, you've been working overtime on something, and you just can't get it, and it's driving you crazy. And it's kind of the same with anything. When you've got a problem, you can't sleep, but then when you're in the shower, or when you get really quiet, or when you're driving, or when you've been on holiday for about a week, suddenly it just occurs to you, and that doesn't come from your intellect. That comes from a deeper place of wisdom.
I don't know why I thought it had just cropped up.
Mm.
Many, many years ago, when I first started working, I was assistant manager for Ansell's. I was only 18 years old. And I remember we had to, I had to count safe at least 3 times a day, more like 5. And if anybody dropped in and you were even a penny out or over or below, then you got the sack. It was that critical. So I remember trying to find a penny, and I've been looking for about 2 hours through the I can't find this penny. I'm like, ah. And then one of the older guys, a lot more experience, said, close the book, go and do something for an hour, come back, open it up, and I bet it jumps right out at you. And you
Yeah.
know what? He was absolutely right. I went away, did something completely different, came back to it, sat down and went, "Oh God, didn't I? How come I couldn't see that the first time?"
Mm.
So giving yourself that freedom to say, the answer's there. If you've asked a question internally or verbalized it to the universe, if you've asked that question, don't go searching for the answer. Just let it go. And then it will hit you at some point. But that's the other annoying thing. You can't say, right, in 5 minutes, I'll have that answer. You know, sometimes that answer doesn't come for hours, days, weeks, months, maybe years.
I've just got to
But it
go.
always
The dog he's found he's opened the door to the treat cupboard and he's raiding it. I've
oh
just got to
no.
stop him. One sec.
This is why you're gonna love living at home. Joseph's got the most gorgeous little dog, but he's apparently just rammed into sweet cupboard, the treat cupboard.
Yeah, little rascal.
Hey, we needed some
He
light
worked his
relief. That
worked
was
out
good.
open doors. Yeah, I think maybe that's a good place to leave it for today.
Yeah, I think on recap, we're saying that the reality that you believe is reality is very, very different when you have an understanding and then the knowing that follows it. That's what we're about.
Yeah,
Ask us anything you like, challenge us, tell us we're idiots. I don't care. Just it must have stirred somebody with the conversations, or if you heard something and it's make you go, "Oh my God, yeah, wow." Then yeah, please share, please share.
yeah, and don't try and intellectually figure it out. That if anybody wants to really talk about it intellectually, I'm happy to do so with you, but it won't help you. The information's in the feeling, and just look for a beautiful feeling. Look for that
That's
feeling,
a great
and
place to end.
there's information actually contained within feelings. So just look for a beautiful feeling, and um, it'll come. So I think we should probably leave it there today, Neil. Is that good with you?
Yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you got something from it. Love to hear from you. Thank you, Joseph. I always love listening to you. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
he's
No,
fab.
please post in the comments anything you didn't understand, anything you want more on, anything you want us to elaborate on and go further on, because we'd love to
Yeah,
hear about what we're not being clear about with
come
this.
and join us. Ask
Yeah,
us,
come and join
come
us.
and chat with us. Yeah, we'd love to get somebody on having a natter with us. But anyway, we love
Bye
putting
bye,
it out there.
everyone.
We know a lot of people watching it. Take care. Goodbye. Love you. Bye now.